And we are back one more time for episode number 269
of the Horror Guys. Yay!
Yay! I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And believe it or not, we're going to talk about horror movies.
We're going to talk about ghost horror movies.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Ghost Month here at
February.
Horror Guys.
Ghost Month. We're running out of month.
For some
people,
people,
more ghost movies coming.
For some people, February is the month of love and Valentine's. For us, it's ghosts.
Okay.
Because that's how we roll.
That's right. Well, what do we got?
Oh, we got some The Devil's Backbone.
Oh, it's a medical drama.
Yeah, no. It's a Spanish film. I'm going to let you pronounce his name.
Guillermo del Toro.
Thank you.
It's not a hard name.
Some of his earlier work from 2001. And a 2011 film called The Innkeepers.
Very highly rated on IMDb, and
yes, it was.
We were kind of not thrilled.
There's going to be more about that later. Yeah. A very nice one, 2015's We Are Still Here, and kind of a breath of fresh air, 2014 Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones, which they stuck in as number 5, correct?
5, yes.
Yeah, and it's kind of different than the other paranormals. And it was nice. Yeah.
So those are the ones we're going to talk about today. Also over at horrorbulletin.com on our weekly email newsletter, where you get one email a week with all our stuff in it. You can also read about Paranormal Activity 4 from 2012, and also Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension from 2014. So we said we're going to talk about The Marked Ones, which is number 5. We're skipping over number 4 here, and it's also skipping over Ghost Dimension.
Those are in the bonus films.
Yes. And I will tell you right now, Ghost Dimension is clearly the worst of the series.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to agree with me on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one here today. What we will start out with is The Devil's Backbone, which really sounds cool, from 2001.
It was a pretty cool movie.
Directed by Guillermo del Toro, written by him, and also Antonio Trachoras and David Munaz. Stars Marisa Paredes, Eduardo Noriega, and Federico Lupi. Hour and 46 minutes.
Spoiler free?
Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, this was an interesting one. It's a ghost story in which that's not where the danger is coming from. Living people are the problem. And the young cast and adults were all very good. Story and direction were top-notch, and we liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we give it a big thumbs up.
And we had both seen this before.
Mm-hmm. We had.
All right, well, we open on a wartime bombing run. A little boy lies dying from a head wound, and then is dropped in some water somewhere, all tied up. Credits roll. What was that all about?
Murder most foul.
Carlos and some men are driven to an outpost out in the desert. In the center of the courtyard is a huge unexploded bomb. It's that bomb we saw dropping earlier.
Yeah, it was. Been there a while, so some time has passed.
Yeah, an old woman says they defused it, but never came back to remove the thing. Carlos almost immediately sees a ghostly little boy in one of the buildings and goes inside. He meets Galvez and Owl, 2 other kids here. This is an orphanage.
Yes, it is.
The old people who run the orphanage say they can't afford any more children. Dr. Cazares, Alma, and Carmen are the only 3 teachers left.
But they're going to make it work.
Somehow.
They're stretched thin, but they're going to do it.
Carmen mentions that they're almost out of gold, and the nationalists will soon be there to take the rest. Meanwhile, Jacinto and Conchita make plans to find that gold.
This is the gold that they need to support the orphanages, and the orphans, and buy the supplies and all that.
Yeah, Jacinto used to be one of the orphans when he was small, but now he works there as a laborer.
And he wants the gold. Arr.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms, but yeah, close enough.
He's after the gold.
It's all pretty bleak there, and Carlos is not having a good time getting used to the orphanage. He's been given Santi's old bed. What happened to Santi? Well, he sees that boy's ghost again, but then he and Jamie, one of the bigger kids, decide to go to the off-limits kitchen for some water at night. They walk past that big bomb outside, and the older boy says they can still hear it ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if they defused it, that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Carlos makes too much noise in the kitchen, which attracts Jacinto's attention. Jacinto uncovers the big safe in the other room and tries his key in the lock. No luck. Carlos goes exploring and finds a big cellar with a murky pool in the floor. We finally get a good look at the ghost. It's a little dead boy. "Many of you will die," it whispers. Carmen and Casares talk about the rumors of the ghost there. The war is nearing an end, and their whole lives are going to change, but not for the better. I guess the wrong side is winning.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos goes back down to the dark pool and talks to the one who sighs. Jamie attacks him, but ends up in the water, and only Carlos can save him. While they're underwater, we also see the dead boy from the pre-credit sequence. Jacinto catches them all there, where they're not supposed to be, and he cuts Carlos on the face. Oh, nice.
You're just a big bully.
Dr. Casares shows Carlos some bottles with fetuses in them. Some of them have what he calls the devil's backbone. These pickled babies are in juice that people drink from to cure their ailments.
And how gross is that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
We see where Jacinto is getting the keys to try the safe. He's getting them from Carmen.
Slowly, one or two keys at a time, so he's not noticed, and he keeps trying them and keeps being unsuccessful. There's a whole lot of keys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Owl tells Carlos that Santi went missing on the same day that bomb fell. They all think he ran away out of fear. The ghost came with the bomb. Carlos believes that the one who sighs is the ghost of Santi.
They are right.
Dr. Casares goes to town and sees something that worries him about the war. The situation is truly hopeless. When Carmen goes after the gold so she and Casares can leave town, Jacinto tries to stop her. The old people turn the tables on him and throw him out. Well, Carlos tells Jamie, Owl, and the others that the ghost is Santi. Some believe him and some don't. The old folks tell all the children to pack up as they're pulling out and abandoning the place. At least that's the plan, until Jacinto sabotages the truck and pours all their gasoline out and sets it on fire. The resulting explosion kills quite a few of the children, as well as Alma and Carmen. Dr. Casares, deaf after the explosion, stands watch with his shotgun. Lots of action.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie tells Carlos about what happened with Santi. The two boys were digging for bugs in the basement, and Santi caught Jacinto trying to get into the safe. Jacinto then killed Santi, weighted him down, and threw him in the well to hide the body. Jamie saw the whole thing, but was too afraid to say anything. Then the bomb fell, hitting the ground right in front of him, but didn't explode.
That was lucky.
Conchita, the oldest one left, decides to walk to town for help, but it's a day or more away. However, she soon flags down a truck, which turns out to be Jacinto and his friends, and he stabs her. They then drive to the orphanage and see that Casares is still alive, so they turn around and head back. Right after that, Casares dies from his wounds. Well, there's some lucky timing.
Mm-hmm.
Santi tells Carlos what it wants. He wants Jacinto. He runs up to tell Jamie and finds that Jacinto has taken over the whole place. Locked in a room, the children work together to make weapons and get the window open, as the adults work to try to get the safe open. They can't get out. But then Dr. Casares' ghost opens the door and lets the boys out.
So there's more than one ghost here.
There is now.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the safe, but Jacinto finds the gold in Carmen's wooden leg.
Yeah, and that's a clever hide, too. Earlier, she was acting tired, and
This old
the
wooden
other
leg's
teacher,
heavier than it used to be.
Oh, it's heavier. Yeah, my leg's heavier than usual today. And totally didn't catch that until, that's why it was heavy. That's where she was hiding the gold.
Realistically, though, full of heavy metal bars, she couldn't pick that foot up.
Probably it wouldn't have worked. It probably
No.
would have thrown her really off balance.
Pulled the leg right off.
But it was a good plot device. Yeah.
Well, he then finds that his friends have abandoned him. He doesn't mind, as that means all the gold is his. He stuffs his pockets with many pounds of gold. The children then run in and taunt him. He chases them down to the basement, where the children ambush him. They stab him a few times and then push him into the water. All the gold drags him straight to the bottom, where Santi awaits.
Santi gets him.
The surviving children set off for the long walk back to town, and Casares' ghost watches them leave. Okay, happy ending for some of them.
A couple ghosts in it. Yeah.
Well, this takes place in Spain during the Franco takeover in the late 1930s, which is the same place and time period as Pan's Labyrinth from 2006. Same director, same place, same time zone.
You'd think he was Spanish and interested in his country's history.
You'd
and
think.
Using that as a backdrop.
You'd think. It looks really good, as does Pan. They're both very nice-looking movies. But the history behind both films, it's a little hazy for me. I know Franco took over, and he was there for many years, but I don't know much more than that.
It's not a main point. You can watch it without knowing the history. It's all right.
There's a war going on.
Yes.
Still, you can pick up what's going on pretty easily. And the little twist here is that the ghost isn't the monster. The ghosts are the good guys. Jacinto is the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
We liked it.
Yeah. Liked it. I approve.
All right, so yeah, we both give that one a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
The next one up is The Innkeepers from 2011. Written and directed by Ty West. Stars Sarah Paxton, Pat Healy, Allison Bartlett, Jake Ryan. Hour and 41 minutes. So yeah, I had not heard of this one, but
I hadn't either.
it come up on several of the best ghost story movie lists, so we figured we should check it out.
So I went into it with an open mind, anticipating enjoying this movie.
Neither of us read anything about it. We like to go into them blind when we can.
Yeah.
Well, it's got a great location, and all the technical aspects are good. It's well lit, it's nicely shot, the sound is good, the music's fine. It's all good. But the story is very, very slow, with not much happening. So much so that horror guy Kevin, we need
Horror
another guy.
Kevin. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Kevin lost all interest in it about halfway through.
I did.
I didn't think it was that bad. It's not a slow build as much as a drive on a flat road through the country for what feels like too many miles. There is some payoff at the end when it finally gets there, but it wasn't enough to satisfy him. And I think we have turned the tables this week. I think you hated this more than I did.
I hated this. I was actually angry, a little bit angry when this movie was done because I hated it so much.
Okay, I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little slow. It was a little subtle. It's a small scale horror. There's some ghosts in a hotel.
I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the hotel's cool. Yeah.
All right, well,
Didn't like it.
what happens?
Claire goes into the Yankee Peddler Inn, right past a sign that says going out of business. Luke is already there. It's just the two of them working these final days, final weekend. They're both into paranormal stuff, and pranks are good.
Look at this screen. It's like
It's
Paranormal Activity where
one of
things
those
don't
lean
happen
in
until
close to
something
watch
does.
it, and it's yeah. Well, Claire spots Leanne Reese Jones, who's a celebrity actress, as she checks in. Claire is awestruck at Leanne's reputation. Well, the hotel is nearly empty tonight, so Claire hopes to see one of the many rumored ghosts. The other guest is an angry woman who had an argument with her husband and has brought her young son along.
You know, having two guests for the night, for the entire hotel
rooms.
being open, doesn't seem like it would be worth doing.
It doesn't, yeah. Well, Claire
Probably why they're going out of business.
Yeah. Claire goes to the coffee shop next door, and the barista there overshares way too much information. Luke goes upstairs to bed, leaving Claire alone at the front desk. She reads Luke's haunting website and reads all about the widow of Yankee Peddler.
Okay, so we had the computer jump scare prank.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had the very funny barista. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be a comedy horror. That's pretty cool. And I was liking it pretty just fine here. And then they lost all the humor. It just sort of, all the jokes went away.
Mm-hmm. And it just was boring.
And we're like 10, 15 minutes into it at this point. Just set up.
Dull.
Okay, well,
Okay.
continue.
Well, the next day, Claire tells the little boy the story of Madeline O'Malley, who hung herself in the hotel. The owners hid her body in the cellar for 3 days. Since then, people have reported seeing her ghost. Well, his mother doesn't appreciate the story and yells at Claire and Luke, and then leaves, eventually. So then there's just one guest in the hotel. Claire really wants to get Madeline on tape tonight. She takes EVP readings in the laundry room and other places. She sees a couple of keys on the piano press by themselves, and she flips out. She talks to Leanne, who says she's given up acting. She's a spiritual healer now. Claire admits that she wants to know more about Madeline the ghost. Leanne says there are 3 spirits. They just want to live. And you mustn't go down in the basement, she warns. You can't save her. So then Claire goes to bed but gets a scare. In the morning, Luke says and admits he doesn't really believe in ghosts. Then an old man comes in. He wants to check into room 353, the honeymoon suite. Well, they've got the 3rd floor all closed down and shut down, but the old man insists that he wants to stay up there. There's no furniture in those rooms, but he says he'll sleep on a sheet if he has to. It's kind of a weird old guy, but he says his honeymoon was there many years ago, and he wants to reminisce. So they let him do it. Luke and Claire get drunk that night and reenact Claire's encounter with the piano. They decide it might be fun to explore the old basement, where they were told not to go. They get some EVP readings on their meter and decide that the ghost is there with them. Luke admits he's never seen a ghost before. He just made it all up to impress Claire. He gets in his car and drives away. Well, Claire goes up to Leanne's room and wakes her up asking for help. Leanne goes into the basement and is contacted by something. She comes upstairs, tells Claire to pack her things and get out. It's not safe here. Claire runs upstairs to tell the old man that he has to evacuate and finds the old man has died from suicide.
Uh-oh.
He wanted, one last goodbye in the honeymoon suite, unfortunately. Well, Claire runs downstairs and finds that Luke has returned. She tells him what happened. Luke goes upstairs to figure out what's keeping Leanne, and Claire thinks she hears Leanne in the basement. When she sees the dead old man, she falls down the steps. And then she finds Madeline, who comes after her. Yay. Okay. We cut to some paramedics wheeling out a body. It's Claire. The police are there for her and the old man, and they want Luke and Leanne to come in for questioning. Luke goes inside, finds Leanne in Claire's room. She says there's nothing anyone could have done for Claire, and then they get in the police cars and drive away. Yay. We cut back to Claire's room, where the door slams closed.
The end.
The end.
Okay, so the main character dies.
And I didn't care. I didn't like her.
Harsh.
This movie just,
Okay.
really rubbed me the wrong way in almost every way.
I guess so.
Yeah.
It's got a tiny cast and was filmed in a real old hotel, so it's probably pretty low budget. It looks good and has a good soundtrack, but it is surprisingly slow. There are a few good horror bits right at the end, but it's awfully slow getting there. Early on, it almost feels like it's going to be a comedy, but mostly that gets forgotten pretty quickly. It's very slow and very low stakes. It felt like more should have happened, but yeah, it's okay. I didn't hate it as bad as Kevin for once.
I'm going to remember this for the top 10 at the end of the year.
Oh my. That bad, huh?
What's your least favorite movies of the year? Well, so far.
But then we have a short film.
We had a short film that was pretty darn good called The Library, brand new this year, which is a one-woman show written, directed, and stars. Do you think that's Jaya?
I would go with Jia Kapoor.
Jia, Jiya Kapoor. Anyway, she was good. Runtime is 6 minutes, 10 seconds, and you can see it for free on YouTube.
Free is always good.
Yeah, those are nice.
What happens?
Well, we open on shots from around a big, beautiful mansion as some music plays. Inside, a woman organizes books on a big bookshelf. One book in particular doesn't seem to want to stay on the shelf. She finds a note inside. She is watching you. Well, she tidies up some more, and another book jumps onto the floor. This one has a note, too. She is watching you. Well, who is watching whom?
We find out.
Yeah.
Well, there's very little dialogue here, but the sound effects, music, and ambient noises are very effective and well done. That weird old song playing in the beginning is just weird.
Yeah, nice choice.
The old house looks like one of the ones out of Hammer or some old-timey haunted house movie. Everything is bright and well lit, and it all goes together really well.
Yeah, I thought she did a nice job with it.
There are far worse ways to spend 6 minutes.
Yeah, great location, and yeah, she just Did her thing, yeah.
All right, now we're on to my favorite of the week. We Are Still Here from 2015.
I would call that my favorite of the week, too.
Written and directed by Ted Yogan. Stars Andrew Sensenig, Barbara Crampton, Larry Fessenden, and Lisa Marie. Hour and 24 minutes, and there's a trailer in the show notes.
And spoiler-free, we say this was a really good one that's a little bit under the radar.
Never
you don't
hear about
hear
this
about
one.
it very much, yeah. And you should more, because it's very good. The house and the cold desolation are perfect. The cast is excellent. The script has a nice slow build, plenty of creepiness, and a bit of a mystery to solve. We liked it a lot.
It's a ghost story.
Yeah.
It is. Well, they're all ghost stories.
It's more complicated than that, too.
It is.
It's not just the ghost. Yeah.
Well, we open on a car driving through a cold, snowy, desolate countryside. Paul and Anne talk about the movers getting all their stuff there, and they stop at a huge farmhouse and go inside. Anne is unhappy about where the movers have hung her pictures, and she whines that she's sad because her son Bobby has recently died.
Mm-hmm.
The photo falls over mysteriously as credits roll.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but they're clearly still hurting from it.
Wanting to restart in a new house.
Uh-huh.
In the morning, Anne hears a sound in the cellar, but there's clearly no one down there. There's a hole in the wall that leads to a dark place. She continues to explore, and we see a shadowy figure in the background. A ball rolls down the steps. She later tells Paul that she can feel their son's presence in the house.
Which is weird, because he would have had to come along with them. This house has nothing to do with him or where he died or anything.
But yeah, the weirdness starts right away. There's no slow build here.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave and Kat come to the door. They're the neighbors. He seems surprised that they moved there, considering the history of the house.
Yeah, some time has passed. They've been there a couple weeks now.
Yeah. The family who first lived there back in 1859 were the Dagmars. The Dagmars ran a funeral home, but they buried emptied coffins. They got caught selling the bodies to the university and maybe also to the chop suey restaurant. Ooh?
Yeah.
Old man Dagmar then killed himself when the crowd came to arrest him. Dave tells the story in the creepiest way possible. It's been 30 years since we've had fresh souls in this house, he adds cryptically.
And that's kind of darkly humorous, too, because they come in and it's a very short visit. It sits down, and tells this horrific story. And it's like, well, thanks. Gotta go. Thanks for the drink.
Just stop by to creep you out.
Yeah.
But Kat gives Paul a note on the way out. The house needs a family. Get out.
Well, what's that about?
Well, the basement is hot, nearly 100 degrees, so they call Joe the electrician to come look at their furnace. Anne thinks their son's ghost is there, so she wants to bring in Jacob and May to visit. They're good friends and also mediums who do seances. Downstairs, Joe runs into some ghosts and soon requires an ambulance.
Yeah, that goes poorly. They're fiery ghosts.
Yeah, well, he comes out luckier than a lot of people.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Jacob and May know they're going into an uncomfortable situation. Paul isn't into all the spiritual stuff that they are, and they have this long conversation in the car about how are we going to deal with these people.
Yeah.
The four then go out to Buffalo Bill's diner for dinner, and all the locals turn to stare.
Yeah, there's something
That's a
clearly
weird town.
Uncomfortable going on there that all the townspeople seem to be in on or something. There's, or they all know something.
It's the new people. Look.
Yeah, something weirdness is going on.
Harry and his girlfriend are on the road to meet them, and they talk about Bobby's death. Harry is Jacob and May's son, and he was Bobby's best friend. He also thinks that Anne and Paul are a little bit loony. They arrive while the others are still out at dinner, and they left a note on the door, so they go inside. We see shadowy figures watching them. Something very nasty grabs Harry. In town, May starts choking at the same moment. Harry's girlfriend runs to the car and drives off at high speed, but there's something in the back seat, so she doesn't get very far.
And then that's a nice touch, too. I don't know if we mentioned it here in the notes. I really liked that. They show the inside of the house again. Everything got tidied up. There's no sign that these two were there.
Yeah, they had some drinks
they had
and
some
got
drinks
into some stuff and
some
played
music
records.
And yeah, everything is put away. So these are ghosts that are trying to
Tidy
keep
ghosts.
Something is trying to keep it a secret, too. Yeah.
Maddie at Buffalo Bill's gets scared when Dave and Kat come in, wanting to know about the new family who visited there earlier. You do realize what will happen if they leave, don't you? The town didn't realize it back in 49. The darkness in that house wakes up every 30 years like clockwork. If it doesn't get a family, it's gonna swallow this town.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they are all in it on something.
Pretty much.
Jacob and May say the energy in the house is unreal, and Paul is amused. She doesn't think the ghost is Bobby, though. It's something that wants you to believe it's Bobby. That night, Paul has a crazy nightmare. In the morning, May and Anne go shopping while Paul and Jacob try a seance. Hey, the women are away. You want to try something fun?
Yeah, let me show you something cool.
May talks about the infernal house, and right then Dave walks up. Dave is everywhere, isn't he?
I happened to overhear what you were talking about. Yeah.
May says she saw a family there last night, and Dave looks surprised. May says none of them should be staying in that house. But the seance back at home takes control of Jacob. Your boy is dead. He's in the cellar. He's burning like my whole family. Jacob then insists that Paul tie him to a chair before someone gets hurt. May and Anne come home, and possessed Jacob says, "This is my house." Just then, Kat calls on the phone. Dagmar is not what you need to worry about. Dagmar, through Jacob, says that the townspeople killed his whole family, sacrificing them to their gods. He then stabs himself in the head and dies. They run for the door, where Dave is outside with a shotgun, and he blows May's head off. Well, okay then.
Yeah, so basically the townspeople long ago opened some kind of portal that blesses the town, basically, or at least lets things run normally. But if they don't give it a sacrifice every 30 years, things start going to plagues, and the cattle starts dying, and people start dying and everything. So they have to sacrifice every 30 years and feed it a family, basically. But something went different this time.
We'll see. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlike the Wicker Man or something, though, we don't really see anything special about this town. They're not especially prosperous or super healthy. Or
Well, I think
what are they getting out of it?
Well, I think they're allowed to live normal lives, and if they don't, things go bad. It's not that they get blessed; it's that if they don't do this, things go bad. They probably opened the portal originally thinking, we'll get blessings, and no, that's not the case.
Then the whole town should take a vacation every 30 years.
Just leave. Yeah.
All right, well, anyway, back to the story. The dead, burned Dagmar ghosts from the basement are there as well. Dozens of town people surround the house. Many of the townspeople are killed violently by the ghosts and taken to the dark hole in the cellar.
So it does get its sacrifice.
Finally, Dave and Dagmar meet. Dave wants to know why Anne and Paul are still alive. Dave yells, "You know what you're supposed to do, now get it done." Dave pulls his gun on Paul and Anne, and he wants to send them to be with Bobby. But then, Dagmar comes up behind Dave and melts his head. And a little later on, they see Bobby down in the basement. It's all gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think that ending meant? Did they die and go be with Bobby, or Bobby was really down there, or he just saying goodbye, or what was the ending all about, you think?
It was open-ended.
Vague, okay.
Yeah.
The outdoor scenes of the house and the barren, frozen countryside really make this film, I think. It's all about the isolation, and the cinematography really highlights that. This is a cold movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it when it came out, and I'd totally forgotten the plot, but I remembered the setting in the house in the snow. It's not even an outdoors movie. The slow buildup of weirdness is very well paced, and the practical creature effects are excellent. I mean, there probably is some CGI in here, but the dead people are just really cool looking.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
It's really good, and I'm surprised we don't hear more about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is not on a lot of lists, but it's quite good.
And it should be.
All right, what is next?
The last one that we're going to talk about is Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones.
Does not have a number.
It was fifth in the season.
Yes.
In the series, but it doesn't officially have a number. This one was a little different, and
it was
pleasantly so.
Directed by Christopher Landon, written by him and also Oren Peli. Stars Andrew Jacobs, Jorge Diaz, and Gabrielle Walsh. Hour and 24 minutes. Trailer in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler free. Who's reading this one?
I'll do it.
Okay.
This was a step up from the previous three sequels. Actually, three sequels, yeah. There were good characters to care about. More interesting things happen in the daylight without the endless nighttime shots of empty rooms and people sleeping at night that are heavily used in all the others. The effects are excellent. We call them the best of them since the original.
And the original is very good.
It is
innovative
yeah.
and fun, and it was kind of
Interesting,
different.
yeah. But then the others kind of drudge on with the same thing over again.
2 and 3 and 4 are basically the same characters for the most part, going prequels
and they
sequels.
tell more of the series about the family, and so there. But it's the same kind of thing. It's endless nighttime shots. Many of them where you're looking at an empty room, staring. It's like, oh, that curtain moved, like that kind of thing. And there's a lot more standard horror movie, I guess, in this.
This one does have a couple of lines where it ties into the previous stuff, but for the most part, it's an all-new cast, an all-new location.
And it is still like the found footage where it's being continuously filmed by either cameras or people holding cameras. So it's got that consistency. But, we liked this one a lot better.
If you liked the first one, this would be the second best.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a good standalone even. It's not bad. If you wanted to start fresh, this would be the place to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we open up to a bunch of people at a high school graduation. Afterward, there's a party. Jesse sees a friend's video camera and rushes right out to buy his own the next day. The guy at the store throws in a GoPro to go with it. Oh, look, he's got cameras now.
Cameras everywhere.
What would he do with cameras, do you suppose?
He'd film continuously.
He wanders around recording everything and introduces the characters in the process. He and his father share a room and live with his grandma. He soon accidentally records some drug dealers, and that goes badly.
Yeah, gangbangers don't appreciate
Not the
being
best
filmed.
neighborhood. Other stupid camera stunts quickly follow. So we get a little montage of goofiness. Then they watch Oscar coming out of the crazy neighbor Anna's apartment. They often hear weird wailing and screams from Anna's place late at night.
And she's got all the windows covered over, and she's just generally eccentric.
Yeah, there's lots of screams late at night, but it's not sex. They're sure of that. Jesse decides to feed his GoPro through a vent to record what's happening over there. They have like adjoining rooms except for an air vent. They see a naked woman just standing there until Anna starts putting paint on her. The neighbors think she's a bruja.
Especially superstitious grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The police start chasing Oscar when he leaves Anna's apartment again, because Anna is dead. Later, the guys all get high and decide it would be fun to break into Anna's place to see what they can find. They hear a baby crying and search for it, but all they find is a bunch of videotapes. One of them is labeled Katie and Christie, 1988.
A tie-in to the previous movies.
Then they find the obvious crime scene and a journal, which they take with them. They read in that journal about making a time portal to unholy places, and they get right to work on trying that.
Well, that seems like a good idea, doesn't it?
Jesse, Hector, and Marisol work on drawing the symbols and runes on the ground inside an old church. They use a black painted mirror as a portal, and nothing happens, so Hector leaves. They look for him, get a quick scare, and they all run away. In the morning, Jesse wakes up with bite marks on his arm, and his little dog growls at him. For some reason, they start talking to an old Simon game. You remember those? The 4 colors, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop.
I do. I used to have one.
Well, this one starts beeping. It answers green for yes and red for no.
Like a electronic
digital
Ouija
board, yeah. Anyway, it answers their questions. Grandma doesn't like the idea. She thinks it's evil. Afterward, Jesse starts feeling like there's something in his house. Well, the guys go play basketball, and 2 hoods try to rob them. But something knocks the crooks away. They ask for the Simon game, and whoever's running that admits they beat up the bad guys. The next day, Jesse is doing all kinds of new tricks with his ghost friend.
Yeah, levitating and stuff.
Like in the Poltergeist movie where the kid slides across the floor and they're playing games with the ghost.
Uh-huh.
It's all good fun.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Hector and Jesse go to a party and make new girlfriends, whom they bring home for sex. And that goes really badly when Oscar shows up, hiding in a trapdoor under the floor.
So that's where he was.
Under the floor in our house. Not good. She put it inside me. That's why I killed Anna. He has a bite mark on his arm, just like Jesse's. You have to kill yourself before you hurt someone. Oscar then jumps off the roof to his death.
Oof.
Well, the group checks out under the trap door and finds photo of Jesse, Oscar, and Anna, along with Jesse's long-dead mother. Not long after, Jesse finds long hairs growing out of his eyes. What's that all about?
The effects in this are really good.
They go to talk to Oscar's brother, who says Oscar started acting weird about a month ago. A bunch of witches were trying to raise an army of some kind. Both Oscar and Jesse's mothers died giving birth. Jesse picks a fight with a guy at the store, and later he talks about losing time and not being able to control himself. Simon says it won't leave him alone. Jesse and his little dog encounter some nastiness back in the trapdoor area again. Hector and Marisol can see changes in Jesse, and they call Ali, who explains about the symbols and about the coven. So there's some tie-ins here to the old ones.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
Marisol takes Grandma to the local religion store, and it's quite a place. I guess they have things like that down there.
Yeah, I think so.
They do a ritual to restore Jesse, which results in some very strange things. The next morning, Jesse pushes Grandma down the stairs, and Hector sees what happens. Ali tells Marisol where to find Jesse and the coven. There's a quick fight, a traffic accident, and a kidnapping, all within about a minute. A rough day.
Mm-hmm.
They enlist Oscar's brother, who's a gang leader, to help them get Jesse back from the coven. The group soon finds themselves under attack from the witches. They kill Marisol and chase Hector all over the place. When Hector finds one of those magic portals to a bad place, it looks very familiar on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that movie, haven't we?
We have.
Okay, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, and it was a good one.
Yeah, there's only a quick name drop to connect this story to the previous ones, which is a good thing. That story's getting pretty worn out by this point. Looks like all they really kept was the idea of the coven. This one doesn't have the long lingering shots of nothing, but it does have lots of video of the guys just goofing around and strangeness going on. It is found footage, but otherwise it looks a lot different from the previous films, and this one has a lot more characters and actions. It's not perfect, but it's a big step up from the previous films in the series.
I agree.
Definitely liked that one.
Yeah.
All right, and then over at the newsletter where we talked about Paranormal Activity 4, it sort of mostly wraps up the first three movies.
It ties in with them. And,
Yeah, more happens with
Yeah.
Katie and Christy and their kids and their boyfriends and husbands and grandmothers and, oh my, it's a weird family.
Ghosts and things, ghosts and portals, and yeah.
And then there was 2014 Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, which was originally filmed in 3D and had all kinds of visual gimmicks to make it 3D. And people run through ghosts, and the ghosts jump out, and you can see the ghosts, and the monsters are there running around, and you
And
can
there's
kind of see
clouds
it,
of ghosts, and yeah.
see everything. And it's what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, it's awful. Of the however many movies there are in this series, this is easily the worst so far.
Yeah, I thought this was my least favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll be wrapping up the Paranormal Activity series next week with the rest
So the
of them.
paranormals are definitely hit and miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. First one's a hit.
Two good ones,
Marked
one
one's a
real
hit.
stinker, and some
And
mediocres
then
in the middle.
meh. Well, I don't know about stinking, but yeah, it was definitely mid. Definitely meh.
Ghost Dimension's pretty bad.
I think they were relying too much on the gimmicks.
Yeah.
And without the gimmick, without the 3D, just watching it, it's like, well, we don't get the benefit of that even.
No?
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week. Stop in over at horrorguys.com to read the website daily, or horrorbulletin.com, where you can get all our reviews in your email box once a week for free. One big long email. It's not a bunch of stuff. Or stop over at horrorguysshop.com and pick up our many, many, many books. And that's it for this week.
It is.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you when?
Next week.
See ya.
See ya.